cutters, we're going to do some baking. I'm going to make some buns, some cinnamon buns. Now, I stumbled across this recipe partly when I was looking for bread, and it's by a French chef who's now based in the UK, who has been for quite a few years, Richard Bertinet, or Bertinet, I think it's Bertinet because it's French, you know. And it was a recipe that he does. If you go to his website, you won't find it. It's on a website for a particular oven that he obviously is one of the sponsored chefs for, and he was showing off this cinnamon bun recipe, and I thought, these look good. So this is his recipe, although we're cooking in a conventional oven, not the nice fancy one that you get. So for this you're going to need your stand mixer, and we're going to use it first off to make the dough, when you're going to use your dough hook, and then we're going to make up some cinnamon sugar with lots of butter in it, and we'll be using this mixer again, but this time with the beater. So the first thing we do is make our dough, because that needs time to prove. So what you're going to want is 200 grams of whole milk, and that goes, and then 2 eggs. There's 1, 2, okay. And then you're going to want some strong white bread flour, because obviously this is essentially a bread dough. So in here I've got 600 grams of that. I'll put that into there. Now I'm going to keep this bowl because I'm going to prove the bread in it. Okay. Actually, I'm not going to put that in the absolute glittering way. Now we want to add salt. Where's my salt gone? I've got 10 grams of salt. It's that butter I want. Don't get the wrong butter. Softened unsalted butter, 200 grams. And that's going to go. Should use a spatula, I suppose. Might make life a bit easier, so getting messy. And then I've got some caster sugar, 50 grams of that. In that goes. And then finally, if you've got it fresh yeast, you want 25 grams of fresh yeast. If not, if like me, you've got active dry, you want 10 grams of that. Okay, and I made it up with a little bit of water. Could have possibly done that a bit sooner. A bit wetter, sorry, I meant. Little bastard on the cloth now. Get off my fingers. And then, like I say, we're just going to put the dough hook onto that, and we're just going to then mix that, starting with nice and slow to get it all incorporated. Get off my finger, little good. Okay. Just get rid of that bit of sticky yeast. And then, like I say, once it's all mixed, we're then just going to let that prove for a bit. So in goes the dough hook, in that goes, and then, like I say, we start off, hopefully turning the power on first, and we mix that on slow for about 4 minutes until it's all sort of come together, and then we'll turn it up to about medium, and we'll mix it until for about 10 minutes or so. So that's at 12 minutes, and it's all come together in a nice sort of coherent dough. So I'm just going to get it off of the dough hook, and then we're just going to turn it out onto a lightly floured surface. Let me just out of the way. Just going to turn that out onto a lightly floured surface, and that's all nicely come away clean from the bowl. And all we want to do is do a few little folds, just a bit of gentle sort of stretching, form it round into a ball. Lightly flour, our bowl, and then we're just going to plonk that in there, and like I say, we're going to cover this over now and leave it to prove for about 45 minutes. So while that's doing, we'll make the cinnamon sugar that's going to go in these buns. So back to our stand mixer to make this cinnamon sugar. So got some soft brown sugar there, 250 grams of that, and again I'm going to keep that bowl because we'll scrape that out and we'll keep it in that for later. And then got some more nice soft unsalted butter, 150 grams of that this time. In that goes. And now we're just going to put our beater on this time, and we're now just going to beat that. I was going to say till it goes pale, but it's not going to go that pale because of how brown the sugar is. But we're just going to beat that until it's all completely combined, and then we're going to add some cinnamon. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of cinnamon. These are cinnamon buns after all. So once this is done, we'll just cover it and leave it at room temperature. Don't freeze it or fridge it, don't chill it, because then it'll be too difficult to spread. Because we're going to roll our dough and we're going to coat it in this cinnamon sugar before we roll it up. Now, given my work surface, when Richard does it, he rolls it out into pretty much almost a metre long strip. I ain't got room for that, so what I will do is I will separate my dough and do it in 2 halves. So I'm just going to get this beat together. So I've had a couple of scrape downs, and we're now, like I say, going to add 2 tablespoons of ground cinnamon, and then we're just going to get that mixed in. Before we transfer it to our bowl to cover and leave until our dough's ready. So there it is, transferred to our bowl. Like I say, I'm now just going to cover that bit of cling film and we'll set that to one side until our dough's ready. Now we're going to need to roll our dough, and we're also going to need a bit of flour. But essentially that's it. Now you need to get your oven at 180 fan and get some like muffin tins. This should make 24. If you watch his video, I think he makes about 16 or 17 because he cuts them a bit too big. But we make them and we'll put them in a greased muffin, no liners or anything, just straight into that greased pan, and then we'll bake them in the oven, having given them a bit of an egg wash first. And then we'll finish with a little bit of icing sugar dusting. So at about 45 minutes or so, what we're going to do now is just turn that out. Actually, I need to keep that because, like I said, I've not got room to roll out the full size. So what I'm going to do is I'm just at this stage going to divide it into 2, put that back in there and cover that back over and get that out of the way. Now, this is quite sort of buttery, if you like, so it's not overly sticky. But what I want to do is now roll it So it's about 30 centimetres that way. And then, like I say, what he was doing was actually rolling it into almost like a metre length. We're not going to be able to do that. Still a little bit sticky. It's very buttery, this dough, and of course when we add that cinnamon sugar, which we're going to be doing shortly, it's going to be even more buttery. I've greased my muffin trays. I did say that then get your oven on, and I forgot we will be letting them prove for an hour, so I haven't put my oven on yet. Bit pointless. So I think how it is, unless they cheat off camera. These professionals seem to like get a perfect right rectangle. So take a palette knife, and I'm now going to use about half of that cinnamon butter, okay, which is nice and soft. And what we want to do is coat it. Now, it wants to be a thin coating, but we do want to cover all of it, because like I say, it is very buttery, and we don't obviously want loads of butter leaking out everywhere. So I might remove some of this, but we just want to get this all now coated. Okay, now what we're now going to do is we're going to fold down approximately 1/3, and then we're going to take that bottom layer and fold that up over the top. Now, since we cut this in half, we're going to want to make, we're going to want to make 12 out of this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just trimming off the end, and then let's see, so about there. Okay, he says about 3.5 centimetres. I've not checked that, but he does, when he does it in the video, he does end up with not quite enough. He said he was perhaps being a bit generous and going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, we're now going to attempt to plait these. There. Just going to leave that from one side. Now, what we do is we need to now attempt, this is why they need to be a little bit wide, because we want to score, or rather cut down, not the full length, we want to leave it connected at the top. This is quite sticky, and what we're going to do is plait them as best we can, and then roll it up to make like a knot shape, and drop that in to a muffin tin. So we're going to do that with all them, and then I'm going to do exactly the same with the other half, roll that out, coat it, cut it, not score it, but cut it, plait it, and put it in there. And then they're going to be covered over and rest for about an hour. So they've had some about 45, 50 minutes proving. Haven't raised an awful lot. Okay, they are a little bit smaller than the ones you see him doing his video, partly because I made sure I've got the right number out. So I'm just going to brush the tops over with a little bit of egg wash, just an egg, pinch of salt, and about a teaspoon or two of milk. And then these are going to go in that oven, like I say, preheated to about 180. And we'll start with 15 minutes and we'll see what they're like, and if necessary give them a little bit longer. So these have had just under 20 minutes, okay, and they're getting brown on top. They are very buttery. When I looked at them on 15 minutes, some of them did almost look like they were swimming in butter. This one's, I had a little check inside of that one. So I'm just going to get these out, transfer them to the rack, and then when they've cooled a little bit more, we'll give them a light dusting of icing sugar. As Richard says, you can, if you prefer, do like a, an icing glaze, if you like, and put that on top. We're just going to give it a light dusting, like I say, with some icing sugar. I'm just going to give them a little bit of a light dusting. That big one that was, like I say, all the ends bits trimmed off the main bit. I pulled that apart a little bit doughy in the centre, but then again it will be, it's a lot bigger than the other one. So there we go. So that centre bit's still a bit doughy, but bit of a crunch to the outside. Well, I say crunch, it's not really a crunch. As expected, a lot of cinnamon in it, very nice. So, there you go, 24 cinnamon buns, courtesy of the chef, Richard Bertinet. Might as well finish that one off, might I? Started it now.